I'm Paul Daddy from Paul Daddy's Grow Science. Today this video is going to be mainly about my Newtry Doser, and I'm going to show you a few things that I think that it takes to make this thing successful that maybe it's not crystal clear in the instructions. Okay, if you grew up in the horticultural industry, maybe you know everything you need to do to make it a success. If you're like me and you bought it for your backyard garden, maybe you don't know everything about it. So, and I had to do a bunch of research and dig this information up, and I finally found what to make it work for me. I'm going to show you a little bit about my operation. Now this is a backyard garden. I've got 50 to 60 plants at any given time. And we'll talk about how I got here a little bit. All right, this is my fertigation manifold. So the water and or fertilizer comes through here and it goes into the drip system that's delivered to the plants. But the thing you got to remember, I started off just trying to build a drip system to get water to the plants, and then I kept expanding it. If you drew it up from the beginning, built it from scratch, it probably wouldn't look like this at all. But as I added to it, this is what I wound up with, and it works for me. But let me show you a little bit about it. We started with this line, and this is the water. So this is where the water comes up. I've got a sprinkler valve in here to control that, check valve, and then it comes up and goes this way. This is the bypass, or it can come up through the doser, but mainly if I was going just water, the bypass would be open, the doser would be blocked. If I'm putting in fertilizer, it's going to come through this end. I've got a filter screen, I've got another sprinkler valve, I've got a check valve. And then one thing I will say, it would be better to not have your valves and your check valve in a vertical position as opposed to running it horizontal. But this is what I wound up with. Here I've got the Newtry Doser. This is a 1 to 10% doser. And we're pulling from this Brute trash can, and this has got calcium nitrate concentrate in it. We'll get back to this in a minute. Okay, I've got another filter screen. I've got a pressure reducer. So with the filter valves and the higher pressure, my water pressure runs over 80 pounds. I found that it's definitely necessary to have those check valves in there. All right, down here I've got a rain point flow meter. So these things are great. I love the rain point flow meter. From down here it's distributed into the drip system and goes to the different plants. All right, I've got another Brute trash can right here. And this one I use to make compost tea, compost extract, or as it's currently being used, I just keep some extra water on hand that I've already got degassed, which we consider that dechlorinated. And this thing's got a PVC sparge ring in here. Hook up the air line to it, it bubbles up through it and degasses it. Now this is insect netting, and this is to keep the insects out or keep the trash out and or trash. You don't want mosquitoes laying eggs in your water, and you don't want a bunch of trash getting in there. Now, if I was buying insect netting, I would buy some that was a better fit, but these are ones that I had on hand, so I just used what I had, and it works. Might not look the best, but it works. Okay, over here I've got two rain barrels. They both do the same thing. This is for my main fertilizer mix. This one is in use. You can tell because I've got the hose hooked up to it. Got a pump. So anyway, I've got I think that's a 1/2 horsepower Wayne, and that pumps it over to the end of the manifold where it enters through the filter screen. So as this barrel starts getting empty, I will make up another fertilizer blend in this barrel. This barrel is sitting there full of water. The water's been degassed. But I typically degas, I consider that dechlorinating. When I make up the fertilizer blend, the last thing I do is adjust the pH, and I go between a 5.8 and a 6.2. That's considered in range for plants that are in containers. All right, one of the most important things you can do to protect your doser is the filter screen. Get the crap out before it gets to the doser. That's very important to keep this thing running. In an operation like this, I pump small amounts of fertilizers because I'm going to be fertigating in a minute. I'm going to dial up 4 gallons. Sometimes it's 3 gallons. You don't have time to prime this line while you're doing all that. It's got to stay primed. And the easiest way to do that is with a foot valve. Let's see if I can get this off. This is the foot valve. And this costs around 10 bucks off of Amazon. It comes with the filter screen, and it is a check valve. So it keeps the line primed. Running this suction line through this trash can lid, you just buy through the bulkhead adapter. And of course, that's the only place I cut the line. It's cut on both sides of the trash can. I've got calcium nitrate concentrate in there. Now, the thing that I hadn't really mentioned is when you mix up your fertilizer, and I'm using some master blend as the main source of the fertilizer, but then I'm adding the magnesium sulfate and the calcium nitrate. Everything's good until you put that calcium nitrate in there, and then with a higher temperature and a longer time, it forms a precipitant. It's gonna do it, and that precipitant's what's gonna affect your doser. So you don't want that precipitant. And that's the whole point of adding the calcium nitrate separately to begin with, is so you do not form that precipitant. From time to time, you can add other amendments to your fertigation, but I found that it's better to do that, just do that and make it up separately. Administer that as a drench, because the more crap you put in that barrel, the more stuff you got to deal with plugging up your system. And you got to be careful what you put through the doser. So when I add the humic and fulvic acid, it's going in the drench. If I add the kelp and fish, it's going in the drench. Even if you use Alaskan fish fertilizer, you don't want to run that through your fertigation system. It should go as a drench. Okay, that's a close-up of that foot valve. Okay guys, another thing that I'm going to suggest is from time to time, like maybe once a week's a good idea, you want to take this top off of this thing. All right, I got this housing off. I'm just going to wipe it out to get it a little bit drier. And then I'm going to spray it. Okay, I've got some food grade mineral oil. So I'm going to spray the inside of this housing with that. And then I'm going to spray this gasket and stuff with a little bit. Let's get this sprayer better. So anyway, just give it a spray with some lightweight oil, something preferably that is food grade. it's possible if you don't monitor this thing, keep it lubed up, that piston will just lock up on you, and we don't want that. Okay, I'm gonna start this thing up, and I just run it from an app that's in my phone. So I try to always be out here when the doser runs. You can't trust it. If you have an issue, you want to be here to take care of it, because we've got the pump going. If I want to just add water, there's no pump involved on my end. But if I'm adding fertigation, which that's what I live off of out here. Okay, so this morning I'm watering with 4 gallons. That's for all the plants, 4 gallons total. That's what they're getting this morning. And then it's going to run through the doser. The doser's going to add the calcium nitrate. You can hear it working. The clicking sound is the doser. It's pumping. It's a water-driven pump. As the fertigation passes through the doser, it sucks up the calcium nitrate and delivers it into the system. So that calcium nitrate's only in there a short period of time, mixing with the rest of the fertilizer. It doesn't have time to form the precipitate. All right, as the fertigation's delivered through the system, I've got one out here. I've got a drip stake where I catch some of that solution, and I'm gonna measure that with my Blue Labs truncheon, and that's gonna tell me the strength of the fertilizer. And you can see it light up right here. Okay, and that's about a 3.0 on the scale, and that's where we want it at this particular time. So that's how you tell that you're doing right, is measuring the electrical conductivity, or the parts per million. Electrical conductivity measuring around a 3.0. So we know that we know the calcium nitrate solution is getting injected in there, and it's doing its job. That was my suggestions for setting up and maintaining your Newtry Doser. You need to add the foot valve, the screen, and then lubricate it. Periodically lubricate it, and then hopefully it'll give you a bunch of trouble-free service. I appreciate you watching. Hit that like button on your way out. Please consider subscribing, and hope to see you next time at Paw Daddy's Grow Science.